Start it and record it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take one of those.
Okay.
Alright.
All right, Jeannie, what's your name?
Jeannie.
Alright, now, what's your name?
I'm Kathy.
You.
Marie.
Wait a minute, let me get the goop. Oh, and you. Alright, and you.
Dave, Heather,
Carla.
Alright.
What about you?
Arlene.
Alright. Let's do this. Hello, my name is Zachary Gentman, and I'm here to talk to you about horror movies. Now, horror movies have been a part of our culture for well over 100 years, starting all the way back in 1896 with George Meili's The Devil's Castle, all the way to Piranha 3D, which was released just this year. They have been bloody, gory, frightening, and we love them for it. Now, my experience is that horror movies will fall into four categories: slasher, sci-fi horror, suspense thriller, and psychological horror. Let's start with slasher horror. Slasher horror is, most of you know what the basic plot. A group of attractive young people will go to a distant location to smoke, drink heavily, do drugs, have sex, and get horribly slaughtered by a mad psychopath. Typically, they will somehow involve the supernatural, and the killer will be an almost invincible killing machine, with the protagonist of the film having to struggle up to stay alive and find a way to stop it. At the end, there will be what I call a final girl. The final girl is the good girl of the movie who survives after all of her friends have been killed and finds a way to stop the villain of the movie until the sequel brings them back. Next, we have sci-fi horror. Sci-fi horror generally brings more, sci-fi and technological approach to horror, with the villains of the film being computers, machines, or aliens, thus leading to man versus machine or man versus extraterrestrial. Suspense movies are generally much more mundane than these, but they make up for it by the fear. They bring up the scares, they build up to them, and keep you on the edge of your seat while you wait for the villain of the movie to make his move. Psychological horror is similar to this, but instead toys with your perceptions to make you question what's really going on in this movie. Needless to say, these can be quite confusing. There has been frequent criticism of horror movies being responsible for violence in our society, but I do not believe this is true. I don't think they are any more responsible than, say, Looney Tunes is. They're strictly meant to entertain us. Okay, sure, there was a lot of killing involved in these movies, but they can be quite intelligent too. For example, this is the aforementioned suspense or psychological horror movies. Let's give an example of a villain. Hannibal Lecter. Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, Hannibal Rising, etc. He is one of the smartest horror villains ever. Even when he's locked up, he terrifies you just because he's so smart and toys with the minds of everyone he talks to and can even talk people into suicide. Psychological horror, Perfect Blue. Most of you probably don't know about this because it's an anime movie, but I gotta say, it's one of the most disturbing movies I have ever seen. And this movie will just keep you on the edge of your seat as it toys with your perceptions of reality, just as the main character does as she battles her loss of identity over the course of the film and the fact that someone is apparently impersonating her. Even slasher films can be quite intelligent if done right. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a splendid example of this. Of course, the later films became much gorier, in particular the remake and the remake's prequel, but the original was something special. You didn't see the kills. Okay, you kind of saw them, but you didn't see the effect of the kills. There was a famous scene where Leatherface just runs up out of nowhere, brings up his chainsaw, and brings it down on Franklin, the wheelchair guy. But you only see the kill from behind Leatherface. So you know the character is obviously dead, but you don't see the results of the chainsaw going in, and you're left to imagine how it all went. That, my friends, can be very terrifying. And I believe Tobe Hooper deserves the credit for coming up with such a genius horror filming technique. Of course, the gore scenes themselves can be quite fun. Let's see, sci-fi horror, Alien. I'm quite sure all of you who have seen it remember the famous chest burster scene. The characters are sitting down, eating breakfast, telling jokes, and then all of a sudden, one of the characters just starts shaking, screaming, going into convulsions, with all of his friends struggling to hold him down, and then the blood starts flying out of him, the alien bursts out, and then runs off. What I love about this film is that there is no warning of it. Nothing building up to it, no indication anything is wrong. It comes out of nowhere. And that, my friends, is good horror. All in all, these films are meant to entertain us. They aren't meant, terrify us too. That's because some people really like being scared. And the proper horror movies, the really memorable ones, those are the ones you go back to see again and again, just because it actually managed to scare you, and you want to see if it can do it again. So, to conclude, horror movies are not responsible for violence in our society. They're simply forms of entertainment. They engage us. They make us feel emotions that we may not ever believe we can feel. So, I say, we sit back, relax, pass the popcorn, and enjoy them. Thank you.